Brought to you by Thomas Allgeier and Frennis, this edition highlights key LinkedIn posts on field marketing in weeks 12 and 13. Frennis supports clients with identifying target attendees for events, crafting outreach that cuts through the noise, and driving qualified registrations through strategic LinkedIn engagement. You can find more info in the description.
All right, and we are back.
We are. So for today's deep dive, we are unpacking the top field marketing trends seen across LinkedIn recently.
Yeah, and there is a lot to unpack.
Oh, absolutely. So for you listening right now, whether you're an event planner or a B2B marketing leader, this deep dive is really about understanding why some events just print money,
right,
while others are basically just highly orchestrated bonfires for your marketing budget.
Yeah, that's exactly what it feels like sometimes, a bonfire.
Seriously. let's just jump right in. The fundamental shift dominating LinkedIn right now is this whole move away from just event presence. Simply showing up is not a strategy anymore. It is all about engineering actual revenue.
Completely. And, Peter Tsoi shared this really terrifying case study about that.
Oh, right. The 280,000 euro one.
Yeah. A team dropped 280,000 euros on 6 massive conferences, got hundreds of badge scans, and then 6 months later, their attributable pipeline was literally mathematically zero.
Mathematically zero. That is just, that sounds like a fireable offense, honestly.
You'd think so, right? But Peter points out that their events weren't necessarily the problem. The problem was they completely lacked pre-event, on-site, and post-event infrastructure.
Right, they had no system.
Exactly. He calls it an event revenue system. Without it, they had no targeting list before flying out, no qualification logic on the floor, and basically zero follow-up.
Which brings up a huge issue with how we measure success. Sridhar Ranganathan touched on this perfectly. He said, counting badge scans is like measuring digital ads just by impressions.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right, because that badge scan, it could be a highly qualified buyer, or it could just be a student hunting for a free t-shirt.
I am definitely guilty of the free t-shirt hunt.
We all are. So counting those scans is like throwing a net in the ocean and just counting the seaweed. Sridhar says we need to shift to a metric he calls leads to meeting, or LTM.
LTM, yeah.
Yeah, measuring the percentage of interactions that actually result in a booked definitive next step. We need the fish, not the seaweed.
Right, but how do you actually catch those fish? Zain Jafari made a really compelling point here. He says events themselves do not generate pipeline.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the execution generates the pipeline.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
Zain argues that you have to pre-book those meetings before the flight even takes off, and then your follow-up has to happen within 24 to 48 hours.
48 hours. Okay, but how do we pass these leads to the sales team without them just, dying on the vine?
Well, that is where Alex Adkins comes in. He warns against sending sales a raw spreadsheet of contacts 2 weeks later. You have to send them contacts, not just contacts.
Context, so what the buyer actually cared about.
Exactly. What pain point made them stop at the booth?
Yeah.
Because if you just send a generic spreadsheet, the sales rep sends a generic great meeting you email.
Which is basically just a cold outbound email at that point.
Yeah. And the prospect instantly knows you didn't listen to a word they said.
Wow. And Snita Ayappa shared a stat that proves how bad this is. Something like 77% of marketers say events are their most effective channel, but only 7.6% actually connect those event touchpoints to pipeline.
7.6%. That is a massive operational gap.
It's huge. But here's where it gets really interesting. Cody K. Adams raised a point about this. We can't treat events like vending machines.
Vending machines?
Yeah, you put a sponsorship check in and expect 30-day close revenue to pop out. Events sit right in the middle of the cycle. They are trust accelerators.
Right. They break the deadlock of those endless Zoom calls.
Exactly. You get face-to-face, you establish that energy, and it accelerates the deal.
Yeah.
So we have to measure pipeline influence, not just instant net new revenue.
I love that. But, measuring that mid-funnel influence requires a really serious tech stack. You can't just use sticky notes on the show floor.
Definitely not. So how do we build that machine? Aparna Priyadarshini mapped out this blueprint she calls a signal-driven pipeline.
Okay, tell me about that.
It's basically moving from manual CSV exports to automated routing. You capture a physical signal, like someone attending a breakout session, and it instantly routes that context to the CRM for the sales owner.
Instantly. See, what's fascinating here is how the whole event tech stack is evolving to make that possible. Adam Perry actually broke down what he calls the 5-layer 2026 event tech stack.
5 layers. That sounds intense.
It is. It's way beyond just a registration page. You've got layer 1 for registration and identity, capturing early intent. Layer 2 is on-site engagement, like smart badges.
Right.
Layer 3 is content. Layer 4 is analytics to compute that pipeline influence. And layer 5 is integration with your CRM.
Okay, but doesn't all this data collection just create massive friction? I mean, aren't we torturing attendees with mortgage application-style forms?
You'd think so.
Mhm.
But Mitch Malinsky in the Event Data Lab actually studied this. They analyzed over 3,600 live events.
What did they find?
Surprisingly, form length doesn't kill registration.
Wait, really? So asking 20 questions is fine?
Yeah. If someone commits to attending, typing their job title isn't the barrier. The real drop-off happens because of decision complexity.
Oh, like offering too many ticket choices.
Exactly. When you give them a VIP pass, a 2-day pass, a digital pass,
Yeah.
they get overwhelmed. They have to calculate ROI, ask their boss.
And they just close the tab?
Yes. The mental friction causes the abandonment, not the form length.
That is wild.
Yeah.
But Kelly Burhop also pointed out that even with optimized forms, event tech still lacks consumer-style usability.
Oh, 100%.
She compared it to, like, legacy design software versus Canva, and Michael Bolyazny predicted that this is actually a huge threat to legacy event tech.
Because of the CRMs.
Yeah, major systems of record like HubSpot, armed with AI, are going to start building native event modules directly into the dashboards marketers already use.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But that brings up a huge question. Are we just going to let AI run the whole show? Like, automate the human completely out of the room?
Yeah, that's the fear, right?
Definitely. But Chris Kearney strongly warns against that. He pointed out that leveraging AI just to cut headcount is a huge mistake. AI needs to support planners by handling the logistics, not replace them.
Right, because you still need someone to actually read the room when chaos happens.
Exactly. And German Inestrosa Nunez backed this up. He said that because AI makes digital outreach so scalable, buyers' inboxes are flooded with synthetic noise.
So human presence becomes even more valuable.
Yes. Verifiable human presence and trust is the ultimate differentiator. AI can get people into the room, but it can't manufacture the trust once they are there.
That is such a good point. So if the goal is high-intent human trust, where is the money actually going now? Because B2B marketers are definitely moving away from those giant, generic 10 by 10 booths.
Oh, the 10 by 10 is dead. Adam Chirinas did some great research on this with mega events like HIMSS and Vivas. He says you need authentic experiential marketing with a strong capture mechanism.
Right, you can't just be a static billboard.
No, you have to engineer a destination. He shared this brilliant example from HIMSS. A team realized attendees were just physically exhausted, right?
Oh, at those massive shows, your feet are always killing you.
Exactly. So they literally built a fake conference aisle running through their booth. Same carpet as the main hall, but they flanked it with couches and hydration stations.
Wait, they built a fake aisle with couches? That is genius.
Wasn't it? Attendees would walk down, see a place to rest, lower their guard, and organically start talking to the brand reps.
Wow, so they captured that high intent just by solving a physical human problem. Julius Solaris actually noted something similar. He sees a shift toward microactivations. Because attention spans are so short, you need multiple touch points in one small space, like a podcast corner, a coffee bar, a demo station.
Yeah, that modular approach is huge. And we are also seeing budget shift towards smaller, highly curated events overall, like exclusive executive dinners.
Oh, I love those. But those get expensive.
Yeah, and Ryan Lakestream issued a big warning about that. Going smaller doesn't magically shrink your fixed costs. You still need the premium venue, the AV, the food.
Right, so if you only have 50 people instead of 500, your per-person cost just explodes.
Exactly. It makes event finance a highly strategic function. You really have to know what you're doing.
And how do you even make sure the right people show up to those expensive curated events? Kristen Thompson had a great take on this. She says free events remove accountability.
Oh, for sure. If it rains, I'm not going to a free breakfast.
Exactly. If there's no sunk cost, they abandon it. She says charging a ticket price is a psychological signal of value. If you need VIPs there, issue them a comp code so it feels exclusive. But don't just leave the front door open for free.
That is brilliant. And it all ties back to the ultimate ROI of these events. Daria Bushak introduced this concept of emotional architecture.
Emotional architecture. I like the sound of that.
It's powerful. She reminds us that the true ROI of an event isn't generated in the room. It's the behavioral change and the emotional shift that happens after people leave the building.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Did a skeptic change their mind? Did an account accelerate? That is what you as the planner need to design for.
So every tactical thing we talked about today, the couches, the 48-hour follow-up, the CRM routing, it's all just infrastructure to capture that emotional shift.
Exactly. And that actually brings me to one final, slightly provocative thought for everyone listening.
Yeah.
It's inspired by Sean Jay.
Okay, let's hear it.
We talk so much about tech stacks and data capture, but Sean points out that the most valuable part of a trade show is usually the part nobody captures.
The candid conversations.
The invisible signal. It's that unrecorded moment where a prospect drops their corporate guard and tells you what's actually broken in their company. And that intelligence usually evaporates the second the conversation ends.
Because it just becomes a checkbox in Salesforce that says attended booth.
Exactly. So the real question for your next event is, how are you going to capture that invisible signal?
How do you build a system for the unrecorded human moments? That is a fantastic question to end on.
It really makes you think.
It does. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, new episodes drop every 2 weeks. Also, check out our other editions on account-based marketing, go-to-market, channel marketing, MarTech, social selling, and AI in B2B marketing.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Have a great one, and remember to subscribe.